So tell me, have you ever wondered why some firms are able to confidently raise fees and they keep every single client, while others, they just remain stuck undercharging? I'm going to let you know that it's not because one firm is working any harder than the other. I'm Lauren Fogelman with Business Success Solution, and the thing that is the difference is that it comes down to how they approach pricing. So if your fees are tied to hours, that's one thing to think about. Or maybe they're aligned with the strategic value you deliver. That's another approach. So are they tied to hours, or are they tied to the strategic approach that you deliver? And part of what we're going to look at today is how to be able to make that shift from time-based fees over to value-based conversations. And this allows you to raise raise the rates in your firm without losing any of your clients. And the first thing has to do with the mindset, because everything we do, first we have to either think that it's going to be possible and we move forward, or it creates resistance and we avoid doing it. So when your fees are tied to hours, you may not be aware, but actually you end up undervaluing your expertise. And think about it. Every time that you are increasing efficiency because you gained expertise, you improved a process, maybe you add in software or an AI solution, you become more efficient. When you become more efficient, your fees are tied to time. That means that you make less money. So I just want to say, tying your fees to time rewards inefficiency and actually rewards people that are slower, have less experience, and totally disregards the value. That's not where you want to go, especially if you're a client-centered firm. So value pricing, on the other hand, is going to go ahead and shift the focus from time over to outcome and the relationship. Very, very much aligned with client-centered firms. So it is not tied to time whatsoever. It focuses on outcomes as well as the investment in the relationship. And you might be thinking, okay, if I raise my fees, my clients, all of them are going to just leave, because aren't my clients, as well as most people's clients, price sensitive? And I will let you know that I have found the ones that actually resist, push back, leave, tend to be the lowest margin clients. They're the ones that give you headaches. They're the ones that are non-responsive to your communications. They're the ones that ask for favors without expecting any additional compensation for that. So the ones that drain your energy, demand the most, but want to pay the least, those are the ones that tend to leave. I'm going to let you know, those quality clients, the ones that you adore, they are a joy to work with. Even when you're not having a meeting with them, you're happy to do their books, their finances, their taxes. They are the ones who respect your expertise. And when you're able to have the right words to communicate the value and focus on the relationship and how they benefit from moving forward, they are happy to invest in a strategic relationship. But maybe you never positioned yourself that way before, and they've always seen you as a technician. They don't even realize the other things that you can do for them. So this is where it brings to mind about Jen Fery. She was a client, and she wanted to make the leap from time-based fees over to value pricing also. She wanted to be able to raise her rates, and what she did was really follow the process of what I'm talking about. She had that value conversation. She enrolled them into packages, and she was able to transition 100% of her clients. She didn't lose a single one. 100% of her clients made the transition from time-based fees over to packages and value pricing. So think about that. If you could do that and you were able to be assured a very high conversion rate, instead of them all leaving, having a high rate of them leaving and shedding you, a high rate of them remaining with you at your newer fees and your newer business model, how would that be for you? And part of the reason that this happened for Jen is because she was able to discuss value, outcome, what was a priority for them, as opposed to how many hours it would require. So that is something to think about for you too. And if that's something that really interests you and you want to start playing with that, then here is something for you to think about and start writing down. Think about 3 outcomes, 3 that you consistently deliver to your clients. Maybe it is peace of mind. It might be timely decisions. It could be proactive guidance that prevents your clients from making costly mistakes, whether in their business or in their tax situation. And start to use those words about the outcomes that they care about when you are speaking with clients, because outcomes are what they care about, and clients invest in solutions. They don't want to rent hours from you. They want the solutions. So think about how to be able to shift your conversations so it focuses on outcomes and solutions, not about time and task. And you might be thinking, okay, this sounds good, but I'm not sure if I'm really undercharging. So how can you tell? I have some red flags for you to think about that gives you an indicator that you're underpricing for your services. And the very first one is you bill by the hour. Not only are you tracking time, you're putting together an invoice, you're sending it out after the work's already done, but you are chasing money. You bill by the hour. So that's the very first red flag, that you're leaving money on the table. The next thing is the scope expands. You're doing more work for clients now, but the fees, they are not keeping up to date. They remain stagnant, even though your workload has increased. It's possible that legacy clients pay far less than new ones coming in. So you've raised rates, kudos to you, but only with the new clients. You left the older ones status quo. You didn't want to rock the boat. So those legacy clients are paying a lower rate than new ones are that are coming in. You answer every client question. You attend meetings. You're handling additional things without any compensation. Or if it is a minimal fee. And the other thing is you are at capacity, but your revenue, it's kind of flat. It's not increasing. So those are some red flags that you might be undercharging. And I just want to say red flags, any one of these 5, you know which ones apply to you. They keep you busy. They don't make your firm profitable. And actually, the National Association of Tax Professionals, they found that on average, 6% of work goes unbilled. So most of that is done answering client questions. Does that apply to you? Are you having clients reach out to you? They want you to answer a question. Maybe you need to do some research before you get back to them, and you aren't getting compensated for any of those insights or that information. So you are then maybe giving away 6% of your work, maybe more, maybe a little bit less, but it is going without any compensation. So that is value that you are absolutely, hands down, giving away for free. We can change that. So here's what you can do as a first step if you want to change that part of getting rid of those red flags and getting compensated for work that you're currently giving away. Let's go ahead and start to review 3 client files, okay? Just 3. And look at where did you give away support? Where did you do any services without charging for them, without any compensation? And those things where you did additional services, you supported a client, but you didn't get compensated, that shows you the gap. And that is the opportunity to start transitioning over to value pricing. And I want to give you maybe an example of how this plays out in real life. So think about that client who asked, can you jump on a quick call with me to go over some numbers? And of course, you say yes, but you never, ever bill for it. So that quick 15, maybe 20-minute conversation turned into a 45-minute conversation. Then you had to do some research. There's some follow-up. Maybe that's another 15 minutes, possibly longer. And that is, at least right now with what I just said, an hour of your time that is unpaid. You've given them information, you helped them, but you weren't compensated. And if you multiply that across your entire client base of how often you're doing that on a weekly or monthly basis, then you might actually be giving away an entire day's work every single month. So think about how much money could you be bringing in on a day, but maybe you're giving it away for free because you're helping your clients, but you're not getting compensated for it. That adds up over time into 4, sometimes even 5 figures. Now, I know that raising your rates, making the shift from hourly pricing, even if it's a fixed fee over to value pricing, is something that might feel intimidating, no matter what size your firm is. From solo up until the big four, everybody has hesitation. And I want to admit, yes, it feels risky for everybody, no matter what size your firm is. You wonder if clients can afford any additional. You've looked at their finances. Can they afford any additional fees? What if they all leave in droves as soon as you start raising rates? And I just want to say, raising your rates is the way to achieve sustainable growth, especially when you value pricing and you're separating your fees from time. It leads to sustainable growth. So this reminds me of Karmen Hoxie, and she is a tax preparer, and she didn't raise her rates for 18 years. Her clients, especially those long-term legacy clients from the very beginning, have been paying the same fees for 18 years. So think about that. How much has the economy changed? And that meant that she's at a lower profit margin now than when she first started out. But within 90 days, we were able to shift her entire client roster over to prepaid packages. She raised fees pretty much by 60% on average and retained 90% of her clients, even the legacy ones. Those first 2-3 clients, they all stayed with her. So some of them even thanked her for this transition. And a couple of them said, we were wondering when you were going to do this. And that will be your experience also, especially if you've held off doing this for a long time with those legacy clients. So here's 3 steps she did to be able to make this happen successfully. The very first one is that she was able to communicate that changes were being made in a very client-centered way. She did not blame the economy and rising costs. She talked about the benefits of predictable monthly costs, no surprise invoices, and services were bundled into a fixed package. And she does tax services. So she was able to put them into a year-long package and get prepaid, and this is for her tax services. So that was number 1, communicating the changes. The second step is conversations about what is a priority for their clients, their needs, the outcomes that they wanted to achieve, what success would look like for them. That was the second part of what she did in the conversation. And then the third part of the value conversation that she had was consulting, and not by giving away information, consulting by guiding them toward the package that best fit their goals and their needs. So those were the 3 things that she did. She communicated that there were some changes. She had conversations about what they saw as priorities, what they wanted to achieve. And then she consulted with them about guiding them into the right package that would fit their needs. So this is what maybe an example of a dialogue would look like. You hear clients say, why are you changing your pricing? I was happy with how things were. And your response is going to be, I've restructured my services so you know exactly what to expect each month. No surprise invoices any longer. And everything that you've relied on from me is now bundled into one package. And this way you're supported year round. As a result, you get more value, and I can actually be even more proactive on your behalf. That is a way to be able to answer, why are you changing your pricing? Take that word for word and use it. So when you're looking at that response, it centers around the client. It's a very aligned response for those client-centered firms that invest in the relationship. It had nothing to do with you or your needs. It totally focused on how they would benefit and why this would be important to them. So the next step that goes with this, if you want to start doing that and having those conversations, is start out by drafting a client-centered email explaining your new business model. And you want to be able to emphasize the outcomes, not the tasks or the hours. You want to focus on what's a benefit to them, what's a priority to them, not what matters to you. And when you do that, the message in that particular email that focuses on the benefits and the outcomes, that becomes your foundation for those client-centered conversations, that value conversation as you explain to them how to move forward and the changes that are happening. Okay, so now let's move on to packages because I've mentioned them a couple of times. And I just want to say, people like having options. Think about, before you make a decision, how much time you spent researching all the options. People like having options. So packages allows your clients to choose. It gives them an option about which level of support is going to meet their needs and really allow you to support them as a strategic partner, not just a compliance worker or technician. So it shifts where they now see you as a strategic partner instead of just a service provider. So once again, people like choosing between options. The packages, if you give them 3 options, they can choose which one is a best fit for them, and you're helping them, guide them in the right direction. So here's how to get started with the packages. Open a spreadsheet and just do a brain dump listing all your services that you do for your clients, including the ones that you're not compensated for. Then go ahead and group them by the problems they solve. What problems do they solve? And after that, we want to put them into tiers. I like having 3, silver, gold, and diamond. The silver is the essentials. It is what's required for organized records and tax filing. So it's really the core essentials. And then the gold might be additional insights, financial health, some additional reports, and maybe some proactive guidance that's included in the gold package. And then the diamond is more strategic growth, strategic tax planning. It might include forecasting as well as advisory services. So that's a way to be able to look at it, is the essentials, some additional insights and more advisory. And then diamond is strategic growth as far as business development and tax advantages. So when we talk about that, each one of those 3 packages focus on the outcomes, not the deliverables. We're remaining client-centered, focusing on what matters most to them. So think about this. A higher tier delivers more impact. It has higher value. It has nothing to do with time. So the higher package has more impact. It's not just about more work. And that's something for you to think about, because now we're looking at things from a client point of view as opposed to your point of view. And the thing to look at when you're creating these packages is all those services you listed that you don't get compensated for. We want to go ahead and build them into your packages at the right tier so that you're no longer giving them away for free. And that way, it's one additional thing that your clients care about, and you're now getting compensated, including answering all those little questions or that research that you have to do. And by doing this, clients are now comparing which way to work with you, as opposed to comparing, do they continue work with you, or do they go to someone down the street who is charging a lower hourly rate than you? So they want to be able to choose the level of relationship that's going to allow them to get their needs met while working with you. And I know that this transition from hours to outcomes, time-based pricing, whether it is an hourly rate or fixed fees over to value pricing, it's a shift in how you look at things. It's a very, very different way of looking at pricing and your business model. And something to think about is that think you're undercharging if you're charging for your time. Pretty much flat out, you're undercharging for your services, especially as you add in AI, those tech solutions, and you gain expertise. You want to be able to raise your rates, but it takes courage to do this in a client-centered way. However, it is very, very possible. So packaging your services is a way to be able to allow clients to be able to see the value and make an investment at the level that makes sense for them. And think about the fact that your best clients, they want strategic relationships, and they prefer to invest in solutions and expertise, not your hours. They don't want to rent you. They want to achieve a specific outcome by engaging your firm's services. So if you've been thinking, I want this, but I don't know how to start, or I tried it, I haven't gotten the best results, or I'm not sure what to charge, then let's talk. I'd love to be able to help you map out that path to value pricing and engaging quality clients, lightening your workload. If that appeals to you, then go to businesssuccesssolution.com/let's talk, and we will set up a meeting to be able to get that dialed in. And something to think about is you deserve to have a firm that raises your quality of life, allows you to work with clients who appreciate and respect you, and highlights your expertise. So I'm interested in hearing from you as to what resonated with you, what it is you're going to take as that next step, maybe how this validated something that you're already doing moving forward. Please let me know what came up for you. And it is time for you to take that next best move, because the sooner that you make the shift from hours to outcome, the sooner you're going to be able to step up into a firm that really resonates for you. It allows you to really highlight your best work and be seen as an advisor as opposed to a technician, which as a result, you can now build a sustainable firm. Look forward to our next conversation. Lauren Fogelman with Business Success Solution, showing accounting firm owners how to be able to double their revenue working half the time.